We're back. Episode 8, the final episode of season 1, Pie to Pie. We end it big with quarantine pizza. That is Brandon and Carolina, a duo, partners in crime, partners in love. They're married, they work together, they thrive together, they make some of the best pizza in LA together. I caught up with them at Benny Boy right before their service, and we sat down and had a great conversation. We talked about everything to starting off in quarantine, pivoting into this new career, inspiration, working with sourdough, and just putting yourself out there. The dynamic of these two is something special. You could tell like they really care about what they're doing. The knowledge that Brandon has, the operations that Carolina brings, it's Batman and Robin. It's the dynamic duo. I'm just super stoked to live in a city where people are doing stuff like quarantine. They're just incredible people. They were so gracious with their time. This is one of the longer pods we did. It's packed full of important, awesome information. I really hope that you enjoy this final episode, this final conversation of season 1 as much as I had having it. Ladies and gentlemen, the incredible, the amazing, the wonderful Quarantine Pizza. Love you guys. Hope you enjoy. LA forever. You guys know the deal. 15 questions, 1 minute to answer each one.
Oh, wow. Oh. Let's do it.
Are you guys ready?
Let's do it. As ready as we ever will be.
Okay. Usually we start this off with a gift, and I know y'all make sourdough pizza, so hopefully you don't have this book, but I got you the Sourdough School by Vanessa Kimball.
That's so kind.
I'm not saying you haven't mastered the art, but it's always good to keep on learning.
Yeah.
So that's my thank you for,
it's really nice
for letting me steal some time today.
Let's do it.
All right. What attracted you to pizza, and who ultimately taught you how to make it?
I've just always enjoyed pizza as one of my favorite foods. So I've always just been attracted to the idea of being able to make myself great pizza, since I just like to eat pizza so much. And I wasn't ever like formally taught how to make pizza. I kind of had to figure it out on my own, but I was lucky enough to work at Sourdough. And when I worked there with Chef Steve, I could watch a lot of people working, and I kind of learned like visually over time and just kind of taught myself that way. But working there and seeing my first like wood-fired pizza, that just like completely changed my mind on like what I thought of pizza being, I guess.
Were they working with sourdough there?
Yeah, they don't really like advertise it as sourdough,
Okay.
but it is just like naturally leavened, just essentially sourdough, yeah.
In that process, did you find, because that's not an easy process to really like get to understand. Did you learn how that worked there?
I kind of learned like just management of like sourdough starters, you know, and just generally like how you feed it and how you use it, and like, because they would do, it's kind of crazy because they just had one dude who would just, like, you were just like, how does this guy do it? Like, he literally just pours bags of flour in the mixer, like, doesn't really seem to measure anything, but just every day makes like bomb pizza. And then it was just cool because kind of learned about pizza and bread there, because they would like spread the coals in the oven overnight and use like the residual heat to cook bread the next day.
Yeah.
So it was just like full circle of just like a little bit of everything.
What keeps you guys motivated every day?
You know, we're a couple and started this pop-up, and waking up in the morning knowing that like I'll be working with my husband is kind of cool, and seeing our little business grow from something so small that started at the pandemic, and then like people messaging us being like, hey, when is this next thing happening, or can you bring this pizza back, or et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's something that like motivates us to be like, let's keep doing this. This is something fun that like we created during the pandemic, and we're, you know, still here. Let's just keep going. Like, yeah.
That brings me to another question, which I didn't have on here because I didn't know for sure, but
Yes.
Is it tough? Is it tough working with your husband or your wife?
Definitely, yeah.
Does that create tension? That that you take home with you, or do you leave it in the tent?
Like there's moments of learning because like he has always worked in kitchens. I come from like a production background where I work in the art department, so like my world is completely different from what I've learned to love here. And it's just like learning to communicate with him at a whole different level of like before it was like us in a relationship, now it's us in a relationship and working together and trying to figure out a balance of like, is my husband talking, or is this like my co-owner talking, or is this just a moment where like we both understand like we are a couple and we're co-owners of this business. It's just like sometimes we have to pause and be like, this is your wife talking, like let's do this. Yeah, so it's definitely tough, but like we over the years we've kind of learned to communicate better.
I think a big part of it too is just like realizing that like it's not a traditional like kitchen environment or business, and just sometimes you get lost like wearing so many different hats, so you just gotta like keep in mind like it's not just like you're working with someone, because at the end of the day it's also like my significant other, you know, like, so it's like very tricky at times, but it's also like super dope. Like I wouldn't trade it for anything else.
That's awesome.
Like just enjoying it while we can, you know?
Yeah.
I love the sentiment. Is that my husband talking? Is that the co-owner talking? Is that my wife talking? Like being able to separate that must be a talent in itself, you know?
Yeah. And sometimes we have to like remind each other, and that's where we verbally say like, you know, this is your wife talking, like, you know. So it's just, it's cute.
Yeah. Okay, so what kind of flour do you use and why?
We kind of just like went through a lot of different types, and we still kind of rotate them pretty on and off, but our base now is we're doing what's it called? It's a ABC flour, organic one from Central Milling. I think it's American Baker's Craft or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it's a nice like malted like bread flour that doesn't have too much protein, so it's like strong, but I like the flavor it has. And then we kind of rotate our different flours that we use, kind of whatever is seasonal or what we want to work with Grissentol. So we always use a portion of like locally milled flour from them. And we've been using their Sonora flour for
like over 6
almost
months.
like 6 months now, just because we've kind of fallen in love with that one.
Shout out Grissentol. That is an urban miller. That is a very cool thing if you don't know about them. How did you find out about Grissentol?
I worked with them a while ago with a chef who used them, and he would we would get their flours and use it mostly for like pasta and like bread and stuff like that. And I just kind of like working with them because they're really nice people, and they're super like knowledgeable and always can like tell us things about whatever we have questions about.
Yeah.
Just because we never really know what we're doing. We're always just kind of like trying to figure it out.
Same here, man.
But yeah, they have consistently good stuff.
Your first post was April 23rd of 2020.
Yes.
What was post on Instagram, that is. What was something back then that you totally thought you had figured out that today you could say you had no idea what you were doing?
Honestly, just about everything. Because I look back at that and I'm like, we had no idea what we were doing.
Yeah.
From like an operational like standpoint.
Yeah. And the whole page started out with, you know, our friends being like, hey, we want to like, you know, get some of this pizza. And my husband and I were just like, oh, let's just, you know, make a Instagram page. And next thing you know, we started calling it Quarantine Pizza because it was literally the middle of quarantine. And like just doing that, it was just one of those things where you're like, oh, let's just see how this goes. But we didn't think of like, oh, we're going to make it like this. We're going to do this. Like over time, we're like trying to curate it. But then at the same time, nowadays, we're both like, let's just post whatever. Like nothing has to be perfect. It's all about having fun, getting people engaged in either a conversation or, hey, that picture's awesome, or I can't wait to try that pizza. Like just that kind of thing. But looking back at that, like one of the first few posts is kind of like realizing like, you know, we at that point we're only making like 30 pizzas and now we can make up to 200 plus in one night. So it's just like cool to think about.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Quarantine makes sourdough pizza, obviously. Can you tell me what the hardest part about working with sourdough is?
Definitely having to, so like we have a base recipe, of course, but basically learning over time, I guess, based on like feel and stuff, just because you never know how it's going to come out every single time. And just
the weather.
Learning like to deal with like the humidity, the weather. Like right now it's fucking awesome
Yeah.
because it's like it's just perfect weather. Like we can get super long, slow fermentation, but during summer it's definitely tricky because we'll just have to adjust our recipes, like add a little more salt, a little less like starter, like kind of ferment it differently, just like to try to get the same product. But
Yeah.
just knowing that even if you do everything the way you think is right, like you never really know how it's going to come out.
I guess that's the fun of sourdough.
But yeah, that's the fun of it too. It's just wild.
Literally.
Yeah.
Wild youth. And then why did you choose to use sourdough?
For my perspective, like I just really enjoy the depth of flavor that you get with it. I like kind of the texture you have with it. It's a little chewier, a little softer instead of like your typical like crispy, like crunchy pizza. And supposedly it's like easily digestible and like not good for you by any means, but better than a traditional pizza. But personally, I really like the flavor that you get through the depth of like all the fermentation.
Yeah, especially with those flours you're using. Did you grow your own starter or did you get it from somewhere?
We grew it. Yeah.
Awesome.
How long have we had it? Like
Either 2015 or 16. I can't
Oh, you've had it
remember.
for a minute.
yeah. So
Okay.
we've always just kind of made
Bread.
just for fun at home, just for ourselves. But kind of realize like bread's kind of hard to make, and
Yeah.
I can eat way more pizza than I can just like bread. So I'm like, seemed like the right pivot, you know?
Hell yeah. Oh yeah, does your starter have a name?
It does. It's Leia. Just because we're Star Wars nerds and yeah.
Have you ever have you almost ever lost Leia?
Oh yeah.
Almost.
Or
yeah.
like had to like
Lost.
bring her back to life?
Yeah.
Luckily,
We have
like a couple of random
starter-
friends of ours like
Yeah.
asked for starters, so like
You gotta
some
spread it around.
contingency plans, couple
I think in
so
every-
many random stashes in all the
Yeah.
fridges, like just a
Like-
lot of backup plans.
Good.
Yeah.
Those are a must when,
Yeah.
when using sourdough starter.
Yeah.
Is it tough to get commercial ingredients as a pop-up? And when I'm talking about commercial ingredients, your tomatoes,
Yeah.
your pepperoni, I saw you guys use
Yeah.
grande.
Yeah, we use pretty standard stuff. I feel like we use Bianco di Napoli tomatoes, like grande cheese. We use Ezzo pepperonis, like so. I think that was like on one of the other questions you were asking. Like, definitely part of the learning curve for us was like starting by making like a small amount to like learning like, oh, we need to set up like wholesale accounts. Got to find like the right purveyor that like fits our needs, carries what we want, you know. So
It wasn't hard finding that purveyor.
no, not really.
Do
Just
you-
because
do you
I
use
had
just one?
experience like
Okay, that's right.
Yeah,
with
'cause
my
Brandon
culinary
has-
background to luckily like yeah. So we use primarily Tama Trading,
Got it.
just because they're like a smaller purveyor and just pretty pizza centered. So
Yeah.
it's kind of fun. And we use like Worldwide for a couple other things. And other than that, we pretty much just get everything else at the farmer's market.
How do y'all define success?
I think success is working with my wife and my friends, being able to pay my bills, and having a fulfilling job that allows me to just do all of that. Yeah.
He said it very well.
Yeah, well said.
Looking back, it's one of those things where you're like, we are successful. We are having fun. We're not taking everything too seriously, but we're serious enough that we can continue on to grow this small pop-up. Yeah.
What is one piece of advice that you can give to pizza makers looking for places to pop up?
Don't be scared to message a business or email them and being like, hey, I'm starting up, like it'd be great to pop up here, I think one thing we did one day, I did it, was like literally just email everyone and message everyone online that we knew that hosted pop-ups, and yeah, like half of them didn't even reply back, but like at least we put our foot in the door and we brought a face and we're like, hey, we're doing this thing and it'd be great if you'd want to like partner with us and have us like you host us, so that's one thing that we did, and I think that was very successful on our end in a sense of not being afraid to just putting yourself out there. Yeah.
Great advice. When you guys pop up somewhere, do you ask for a guarantee or do you fly by the seat of your pants?
The terms of our pop-ups, I guess, is like, luckily the places that host us are just super nice and don't really ask for anything from us. And we just kind of hope for the best. Like, we understand that having a pop-up is different from a traditional restaurant and business in a sense of every pop-up you have is going to be a risk. So luckily over time we've been able to kind of forecast better, but yeah, we kind of just try to guess as best as we can week by week and just hope we make enough food to not sell out and just feed as many people as we can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and research on the specific spot.
Yeah.
Like being like, okay, on a Friday, like of course a brewery is going to do way better than on a Tuesday. So it's like, okay, we're bringing in that Friday crowd and then we're there, so hopefully we can make up to 60 or 100 pizzas, kind of gauging it from there. Or sometimes we would even like go to the place, whether it was like a wine bar or some other place, and we would, scope it out. We would scope the place out and just be like, okay, cool, like this is the crowd, this is how much we should probably like bring, and hopefully we sell all of it.
That's very smart.
Yeah.
Basically, do some reconnaissance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like check out the bar. Be like,
Yeah.
so this is not a Friday night crowd.
No,
It is
definitely.
Friday.
Because like it just helps is like just knowing what you're walking into and
Yeah.
kind of like knowing, like, instead of just showing up and be like, oh, where am I setting up, or like how am I doing, like just we like to try to be as prepared as we can, just because it's a lot of tiring work and you got to do whatever you can to make it easier.
Most definitely. What are your 3 favorite ingredients?
Basil,
3 favorite ingredients:
pepperoni, and cheese.
pineapple.
Those are good.
Pineapple for sure.
Hell yeah.
Pickles. Just feel like we use a lot of random pickled stuff on various pizzas, and it's just a nice textural acidic contrast for pizzas. And
Hot honey.
I guess-
Sorry, I'm saying 4.
yeah,
But
pepperoni, pineapple, and pickles.
That's good.
That's gonna be my 3.
I went with the classic: basil, pep, and cheese.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What is your advice to someone who wants to make better pizza?
I would say start by just with the basics. Like, have a good dough, because that's, for us at least in our business, like we think that's a good foundation, because there seems to be pizzas that can be a lot more topping focused, and really like you can make a lot of toppings taste good on a pizza, but I think it's good to just have a good foundation to work off and just start with things that you're comfortable working with. And once you get your knowledge good on that, then you can kind of like tweak things and try to be a little more creative and go from there.
What do you think is a good estimate for startup money for this business model? Doesn't have to be like what you spent, maybe
Yeah.
like what you would want. What's if somebody was doing it today?
I think $5,000 or so sounds like an amount that you can get the tools you need and have at least some sort of peace of mind safety net in case like it doesn't go as planned. But I feel like anywhere between $3,000 to $5,000 is a good start. And then you can kind of like from there over time, as your business grows, just kind of grow with it, you know?
Yeah.
We use the rock boxes here for our personal pies, and then we make 14-inch pies at Smorg that we do by the slice in the dome.
Oh, nice. You have the dome. Too.
Yeah, so that's what we use at Smorg.
Did you use anything other than Rockbox prior? Like, have you used
Our
an uni?
very first one
or
we
a
ever had
Versa?
was a uni.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we started with. And
You like these better,
yeah,
Yeah.
just
all around.
general. These things are built like tanks.
Yeah.
And
They kinda look
they've
like
been super durable for us, and we had
Any
issues like
questions? Yeah.
our first uni basically just like disintegrated over time, and the support wasn't very great. And if we've ever cracked a stone or anything in the Ghazni, within a week they're pretty much like, hey, here's a new oven, or send this back and I'll fix it for you. Like,
They're very
just-
on it.
as long as you do your warranty or whatever. So they've been great with all that stuff. Yeah.
Where does the creativity for the pizzas and the food come from?
It's all Brandon. I'll be like, sitting on the couch and he'll randomly be like, what do you think of? And then just start listing toppings. And I'm like, what is he talking about? And then I realize what he's talking about. And he's like, on a pizza. And I'm like, it'll either be like, oh, that sounds amazing. Or I'd be like, don't, you need to scale it down, But like, it's all Brandon. It's
Just, I think it's just food that I like to eat.
yeah.
My mom is like Vietnamese, so I've always gotten to eat a bunch of diverse foods, and just living in LA and Orange County my whole life, like, I think it's just kind of a culmination of things I like to eat and things I've kind of learned over time at different restaurants that I've worked at. There's a lot of bad ideas, but every now and then there's some good ones that
Hell yeah.
kind of make it through.
Is there a failure in your career you can share that taught you something or helped you grow?
A lot of restaurants I've worked at, I've kind of felt the need to kind of put a lot of responsibility on my shoulders, and just kind of like end up overworking myself and taking on just like random responsibility and stuff. And I think definitely at my last job before I went doing this full time, like, definitely had a aha moment. And it was just like, I need to just kind of take a risk and just do something for myself instead of just like constantly working so hard for other people,
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of like a big moment that shifted a lot of things with like my mindset.
What is the greatest band or artist of all time?
Ooh.
And if you have different
Greatest?
ones. We can get
Led
both.
Zeppelin rocks.
All right, yeah, he's got them all.
Yes. Care
I had a
no.
feeling you were
Yeah, I'm
All
like,
right.
gotta go with the classic punk rock chick.
Led Zeppelin, yes. I love it.
Yeah.
Can you shout out someone or a book or a podcast that we as pizza makers need to go check out today to become better bakers or just better people?
I'm not huge on podcasts, but there's a dude in Canada, Matthew James Duffy, and that guy is just like insane with dough and bread. Like, just watching his videos and stuff, like, he just seems like he just can do about anything, and he makes a lot of sourdough pizza, which is really cool.
Awesome. What makes you quarantine so good at what you do?
It's a collaboration of two individuals who, have a culinary background, and I have more of an administrative background, and us combining both of our talents together is kind of what makes us who we are. Because Brandon focuses more on, making sure that the pizzas are amazing, and I'll make sure that, we have everything we need to actually succeed in the process of having the pop-up run. Yeah.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yes.
You just started up at Smorg, which is Smorgasbord is an outside food market every Sunday in downtown LA. Very cool place to be. And can you lend some advice to other pop-ups? The process of getting into like such a big event?
I feel like it's one of those things where it's just like, stick to your brand and your concept and make the food that makes you unique as an individual. And don't be shy or don't be scared if you don't hear back. Like, sometimes, who knows how many times you might have to apply, but you just have to try.
Mhm.
Like, we never really thought we were gonna do it. We just
We applied.
we applied. Luckily,
Twice.
Zach came to a pop-up we did with Hacienda, where we were doing our blue corn al pastor pizza, and I think that kind of is what caught his attention. And I think just try to be yourself and make the things that make you unique. Like, don't just try to do what everyone thinks is cool. Like, just do what you want to do. And I think you just have to have that passion to really shine as a concept.
All right, we're gonna let them turn the music back on because we are messing with the vibe. Thank you both for doing this so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Where do we go to get in touch, to talk to you?
Follow us on Instagram, Quarantine Pizza Co. You can also email us, again, quarantinepizzaco@gmail.com.
Instagram's good. We're at Benny Boy on Fridays, and we're at Smorg on Sundays. And that's about it for now.
Hell yeah, thank you for letting me steal your time.
Yeah.
I know you gotta cook pizza now.
Nah, thanks for coming by. It was really fun chatting with y'all.
Yes, awesome. Appreciate it. Later, I'm gonna go drink some cider.